Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Midweek Worship. My name is Jeff and we're Two Cities Church. I want to thank you for joining us for this broadcast. If you're connecting with us for the first time and you want to know more about the church or why we do Midweek Worship, look below me. You see a link to a video that will tell you more about our church and why we started doing this in the first place. Hey, this week is Holy Week. This is the week that millions or billions of people all over the world are preparing their hearts for Good Friday and Easter Sunday. And by God's grand plan, we take the concept of what it means to be human one big step forward. For the last several weeks, we've been talking about human beings and who we are and how God has made us. And starting today, for the next several weeks, we're going to talk about what's called human capacities. How God gave humans some abilities or capacities. That's why it's called human capacities. What I want to do for just a second is I want to take you way back in time. We're going to go way back to the Old Testament. We're going to go back to a time where there was a guy by the name of Moses. He was a shepherd. He was living out in the field with his father-in-law's sheep, just taking care of his sheep, just doing his thing, when all of a sudden Moses saw a bush burning. And it caught his attention because the bush didn't get consumed. It was on fire, but it didn't burn up, which prompted Moses, like you or me, to go check this thing out. Well, this famous burning bush moment in Moses' life, God meets with him. God speaks to him. God gives Moses some instructions. And there's a very specific response that God gives to Moses that I think will help us tonight have a better understanding of these capacities that God gives humans, like our ability to reason and a will and other things. But I also want us to remember that God gives us these capacities, these gifts, these abilities that separate us from the animal world and from all of other creation. He gives it to us for a purpose, and He expects us to use it for that purpose. So picture in your mind for just a second that Moses goes up the mountain, he sees the burning bush, he hears God's voice. God said, Moses, you're going to be my mouthpiece. You're going to become my voice to Egypt and go talk to Pharaoh. You're going to become my voice and go talk to Israel. And if you're smart, and Moses was a smart dude, you would do exactly what Moses did. Moses said, God, you got the wrong guy. I'm not strong. I'm not eloquent. I don't have a good vocabulary. In fact, I don't even want to do this, is basically what Moses was saying to God in Exodus chapter 4. I'm painting this whole background picture so that you can hear how God responds to Moses. Because I think sometimes I get to the point where I know that the Lord is prompting me to say something to somebody, and then I choose not to do it. I know the Lord is prompting me to go do something for somebody, and I just forget or I decide not to do it. And maybe learning from Moses at this moment will remind me or remind you of the human capacities that God gives us. So here it is. I'll put it on the screens for you. Exodus 4, verse 11, God's response to Moses. Then the Lord asked Moses, who makes a person's mouth? Who decides whether people speak or do not speak? Hear or do not hear? See or do not see? Is it not I, the Lord? Exodus 4, verse 11. Now, while this verse is fresh in your memory, I just want to point out a couple of things about this. Because what God is saying is, Moses, the reason why human beings have a mouth in the first place is because I gave them a mouth. The reason you have ears and an eye and eyes is because I gave you ears and eyes. I created humans so that they could see and they can hear and they can speak. And Moses, I also gave you that mouth for a purpose. And now I want you to go use your mouth for the purpose for which I gave it to you. I want you to be my voice. And Moses, if you know the rest of the story, Moses still decides, God, I don't want to do this. God, I know it's going to be difficult. God, go pick somebody else up. And God instead doesn't let Moses off the hook. And you know the rest of the story. Moses becomes one of the greatest spokesmen, listen to this word, one of the greatest spokesmen or voices for God of all time. Now I'm going to ask you a very powerful question based on what we just heard from Exodus 4, verse 11. But I feel like I want to help you prepare yourself for the question that I'm about to ask you. So what I'd like to do is pitch it over to our friends, Pete and Alish, who are going to lead us in a song. I want you to use your mouth to sing your praises to God. And then after this song is over with, we're going to come back and we're going to answer a question, a very powerful question. So why don't you sing along with Pete and Alish?
He's coming on the clouds. Kings and kingdoms will bow down. And every chain will break as broken hearts declare His praise. Who can stop the Lord Almighty? Our God is the Lion of Judah. His warring with power and fighting our battles. Every knee will bow before Him. Our God is the Lamb that was slain for the sin of the world. His blood breaks the chains. Every knee will bow before the Lion and the Lamb. Every knee will bow before Him. So open up the gates. So open up the gates. Make way before the King of Kings. The God who comes to save, the God who comes to save, is here to set the captives free. For who can stop the Lord Almighty? Our God is the Lion of Judah. He's warring with power and fighting our battles. Every knee will bow before Him. Our God is the Lamb that was slain for the sin of the world. His blood breaks the chains. Every knee will bow before the Lion and the Lamb. Every knee will bow before Him. For who can stop the Lord Almighty? Who can stop the Lord Almighty? Who can stop the Lord Almighty? Who can stop the Lord? There is no one. Who can stop the Lord Almighty? Who can stop the Lord? Who can stop? Who can stop the Lord Almighty? Who can stop the Lord? Our God is the Lion of Judah. He's roaring with power and fighting our battles. Every knee will bow before Him.
All right, now that you've heard that song, now that you've used your mouth to sing that song, I want you to place yourself where Moses is. I want you to hear God saying, I gave you, Jeff, a mouth, and I want you to use your mouth to speak on my behalf to other people. And this week, on Holy Week, chances are you have friends, you have neighbors that are not in the habit of going to church. Maybe they don't know Jesus at all, or they're far from him. And God has given you a mouth, and maybe this week he's given you the opportunity to use your words to point them to Jesus. I'm going to put a question on the screen, and this question is going to end the broadcast. And what I'd like for you to do is think honestly and answer the question honestly. If you're a parent with a child, I'd like for you to have just an honest family discussion about this question. Here it is. How did your words bring God glory this week? I want you to think about all of the words that you spoke or the words that you didn't speak. And I want you to just answer honestly before the Lord how your words actually built other people up or honored him, glorified him, or how they didn't. This is a hard question to answer for me, and maybe it's going to be a hard question for you to answer. But I hope it will help you think through the human capacities that God has given us. Thanks for joining us. I'll see you right back here next week on Midweek Worship.